So here we are again. You know, the evidence, you've been kind of looking at it on the side. They have the audio off. But this is where we are. We're opening for business in 2019, far more resilient, a little over twice the size that we were, going to employ way more than we did before. The feedback on it has just been phenomenal. We have some tremendous photos, but we have some real high-powered people involved now. We have the second highest ranking Buddhist official in the world. He's got a congregation of over 100 million people. And he's one of our people, and he's got this guy, not him. This guy is a past guest from Germany he's one of our CBI investors. You hear about CBI investors? The one in the middle, he came here 2013, enjoyed it so much that he said he wants to buy a villa at Jungle Bay. Not only that, he's working with us to develop a zip line from Monakuma down to Sophia Springs, the waterfall. So we've got the Kamapa Lama also is bringing in a number of people to do retreats at Jungle Bay. And those are just two examples of some of the CBI citizens. So it's not just the money we're going after. Again, Dominicans, they're Dominicans by CBI. You're Dominicans by the womb, by birth, or by marriage. All Dominicans, we are the assets of this country. And it's about bringing us together and doing something to develop your country. Anyway, my 10 minutes is up. I just want to leave you with the thought, keep it churning as you go to your respective homes, and I wish you safety and Godspeed as you go back to your respective homes. Yeah?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a true, resilient Dominican, teaching you how we take steps to rebuild Dominica as a resilient nation. Let's give him a round of applause. At this time, I invite Honorable Roslyn Paul, Minister for Commerce, Enterprise, and Small Business Development, to address you.
Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica. Honorable Joseph Isaac, Minister for Climate Resilience, Disaster Management, and Urban Renewal. Other members of Cabinet, other members of Parliament, Your Excellency Steve Farrell, Secretary to the Cabinet, Permanent Secretaries, Ms. Athenia Benjamin, Coordinator of Diaspora Affairs, Mr. Samuel Raphael, Jungle Bay Resorts, Father Charles Martin, distinguished guests, members of the media, all of you, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good morning to everyone. Like many other Caribbean islands, Dominica has a high diaspora population. And maybe we do have more Dominicans living outside than those residing here. However, we all are Dominicans and love our country. My dear Dominican friends, your role in humanitarian response has been tremendous, and this was very significant and very visible post-Tropical Storm Erika and Hurricane Maria. Your contribution as individuals and through collective efforts was indeed tremendous. And I want to take this opportunity to say thanks for all you did to help bring relief after these disasters. Let me take the opportunity and ask you to join us in applauding you for all of your efforts. In fact, you were quick to embrace and host a number of children and families during these emergency situations. Your volunteerism and in-kind donations, including food and non-food items, your mobilization and transportation of these items to Dominica when we were most in need cannot go unnoticed. Our Dominican diaspora, so too, you never failed to celebrate Dominica. As a cultural enthusiast and key player in the preservation and promotion of our Dominica's heritage myself, I must take the opportunity to commend you for the critical role you play in preserving and promoting Dominica's culture. Zopaka oublié tradition zo pièce. Zo bon. You have your own social groups, social societies, where opportunities for the second generation to learn the Dominican culture, such as street festivals in the UK, and Labor Day in New York, and Miami Carnival, the hosting of pageants, foodscapes, the rearing of traditional dress, and use of our Creole language. But moreover, you, our dear Dominicans residing abroad, have always played an important role in the economic development of our country and in poverty reduction. You always provide remittances for the well-being of families that you have left behind. And in 2017, remittances was over $58 million. And that is US dollars, over 58 million US dollars. You also assist the economy, like now when you return home for festive season, and you continue to spend. A few of you, though, or some of you, have offered your skills and talents to assist the country, but we encourage you to do even more. We believe that out there among our Dominicans, we have serious intellectual capital and capacity to think outside of the box. So we urge you to use that to your advantage and to our advantage. The government encourages transfer of knowledge and skills. There are many of you who are very talented, who are skilled professionals, and you have obtained international experiences. You have international connections as well. And so we ask you to use these skills, use your profession to get involved in mentorship programs and exchange programs. For instance, you in the diaspora or diaspora groups can work with key institutions in your country of residence that can offer exposure to our young people for innovation and technology transfer. You can, in that way, facilitate these exchange programs for learning best practices, for sharing experiences, for getting the success stories and promoting innovation and enterprise. Some of you have invested in small businesses and even medium-sized enterprises, major ones too, like the Jungle Bay. As you heard, Mr. Sam Raphael said he didn't know he was called a diasporan, but he was, and he has returned home and invested in his country. Others too have done so, and later today there'll be groundbreaking of Tranquility in Salisbury. This again is an initiative of someone who has been residing in the diaspora. We also have smaller enterprises like Twapiton Building Materials, who came in after Hurricane Maria. So quite a few persons who reside in the diaspora have been coming back home to make investments. And what we want to do today is to continue, to encourage you to continue to do that. We know that much more can be done in terms of investments, both as individuals or through partnerships, so that you can continue to contribute in a more significant manner to Dominica's economic growth and development. We recognize that you are catalysts as well as a channel to be towards increased investments, assisting us in broadening our nets for attracting investments and helping to boost our direct foreign exchange and increase employment. You can help us make migration work better for long-term development benefits. There are new opportunities for increased economic participation of non-resident Dominicans and across several sectors, and to allow you to increase your contribution to economic growth. So create your businesses and spur entrepreneurship. One, for example, the abattoir is a splendid opportunity for private sector investment. The government of Dominica has built the abattoir. The government is not interested in, we are not interested in ourselves undertaking private sector development. But now that the abattoir is there, we are not interested in running it. So here's your chance. Send your proposals. Partner up if you need to. So that's one opportunity for you. I hope those of you in here who have the resources, the inclination, are going to take us up on that. There are several hotel developments on island as we speak. In Portsmouth alone, there are 3 hotels being constructed. There is also Jungle Bay, as you heard just before me, which is nearing completion and will open for business in 2019. And there's Tranquility breaking grounds today. So please, position yourselves to take advantage of the linkages in helping us to build 5-star communities and in provision of quality goods and services. And I want to emphasize quality goods and services because this is what the 5-star hotels will require. You can invest in the areas of science, technology, research, and development. That's a critical need in Dominica so that we can modernize and optimize productivity and to add value to the supply chain processes in major sectors such as agriculture, tourism, and manufacturing. For example, many of you and your families have unutilized land or underutilized lands. What about aqua farms, hydroponics, organic model farms, composting initiatives? What about setting up a bottling and packaging plant to support manufacturing? These are just a few examples. Market opportunities also exist for our fish, which is described as unique in terms of taste. Perhaps some of you can think of a trawler for deep sea fishing and to maximize the potential of our fishing industry. The government of Dominica has been doing much towards the development of MSMEs in Dominica. You can partner and support medium and small or micro enterprises. You can facilitate accessibility to markets, assisting MSMEs in getting to foreign markets, in product diversification, in expansion, in adding value to primary products and in increasing sales. What about establishing outlets for Dominica local products in major diaspora centers? So you don't have to wait only when you get here to enjoy our cocoa tea, or the sick cocoa as we like to call it, or the coconut tablet or coconut oil. In fact, you are a niche market, consumers and lovers of our local products. When you are here, we who reside here can hardly get the cocoa. You take the spice, you take the cocoa with you. So what about setting up an outlet that you can always have it? I am certain too that there are some of you who have the resources and would like to buy a home here, buy a house, but do not really want the headache of going and build. So there's an opportunity for you to buy a house in Dominica. Or those of you with the resources, abilities, and interests could form a company and build affordable houses to sell to members of the Dominican diaspora. That's a thought. So there, I simply outline a few of the opportunities that are there, that you can make your contribution, that you can help in expanding what we have started. And the government continues to create the environment. Government offers a number of incentives, concessions in terms of, for example, duty-free, waivers, tax holidays, and we also have the Invest Dominica that facilitates facilitates investors, and that would include you who have the interest. So we encourage you to take up the opportunities. We also have the Ministry of Commerce. We are here for providing technical support, business advisory. So take up the opportunities and help us, especially as we are moving or we are on the journey to ensuring that Dominica becomes the first climate resilience country. Please embrace the vision as a Dominican, and I would urge you to continue to be the advocates and public relation agents for Dominica. You have been here. You've seen what we have been able to do together with you, the people of Dominica residing abroad, and those of us who are here. The government has been leading, but it is with the support of the Dominican public that we have been able to reach thus far. So you have been here, you have seen the evidence, you have seen what we have been able to do even 1 year after Hurricane Maria. So you can tell the true story. Be advocates for Dominica. Be Dominicans. And we can all truly say that.
Thank you, Honorable Paul, for reminding us of the opportunities that exist. It's my pleasure to call and invite Honorable Joseph Isaac, Minister for Environment, Climate Change, Climate Resilience, Disaster Management, and Urban Renewal to address you.
Honorable Dr. Roosevelt Skerrit, Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Honorable Reginald Austri, Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Rosalind Paul, Minister for Commerce, Enterprise, and Small Business Development, other honorable members of Cabinet, other members of Parliament, Your Excellency Steve Farrell, Secretary to the Cabinet, Permanent Secretaries, Mr. Phineas Benjamin, Coordinator of Diaspora Affairs, Mr. Sam Raphael, Founder of Jungle Bay, Father Charles Martin, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to beautiful patriots of Dominica. Welcome home. Welcome to your sweet Dominica. I know the schedule says that our interaction will be at the end of today's event, but I want to have a small interaction with you. Tell me, a year ago, brothers and sisters, keep it real with me. Did you expect to see Dominica bounce back this resounding way? Did you expect to see the ongoing construction and rehabilitation projects to the magnitude you have seen? So I feel the same way like you here this morning. There are many events around the world where governments talk to people, but there are not many like this one, where you sons and daughters of the soil who have lived here and lived overseas have the opportunity to interact with parliamentarians and even to meet your prime minister in a one-on-one. So we must say Dominica is an exemplary country, an isle of beauty. Being part of this gathering for the first time, I can feel the vibes. I'm especially grateful to the many persons whose hands came together to make this happen. Despite being tested by Category 5 hurricane, look at how far we have come. The warm smile of our people we have known for many years have returned. See how we are smiling today. Through the mercy of God, the visionary leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, and I dare say, Dr. Roosevelt Skerrit. And his cabinet hard work. And you, the people, who are based overseas, and other friendly nations and various humanitarian agencies, we are still standing. I say we are still standing. Today, my brief presentation will focus on two major areas of development, both of which are part of my ministerial portfolio. That is the environment and urban renewal. My focus will be on the environment, but I want you to understand that you are Dominica's greatest asset. Our next great asset, we can say, is our environment. That's what really differentiates us from the rest of the region, and I dare say the rest of the world. Being known worldwide as the Nature Isle, environmental protection has always been on the high list of priority of this administration and administrations before. We have embarked on the banning of the use of plastic, single-use plastics, in keeping with our vision of becoming the first climate-resilient nation, as articulated by our Prime Minister. Climate change, garbage disposal, coastal resource management, water resource management, the issue of biodiversity, biosafety, and climate resilience will be fully addressed in a comprehensive environmental bill, which I can assure you we shall soon pass in Parliament. This administration, after we face this devastating Category 5 hurricane, embarked on a major national dredging program across our country. And when we were threatened by both storms, tropical storms in recent time, I'll name one, the one they call Isaac, not Isaac. We saw testimony to the work done by the Forestry Division in clearing all our waterways and ensuring that it did not pose a major negative impact on our different areas where we reside. So we will be doing an ongoing process, a program of reforestation. The aim there is to have 1 million trees planted by the end of 2019. Also, the vision of this administration is to ensure that the area in Portsmouth called, that's the Mang area, next to the Indian River, we are in discussion in regards to ensuring that area becomes a protected area like the other areas we have had in the past. We have ongoing work and will continue to protect our endemic birds like the Cicero parrot and the jacu. And we are right now in discussion at the forestry level in looking at the issue of the wamie and other birds to see if they are endangered. Remember, your government took a major decision this year to ban the hunting of our wildlife. Again, commendation to this administration. In the area of urban renewal, in our Prime Minister's budget address for this financial year, he underlined the necessity for developing Roseau City and positioning it as the first climate-resilient smart city in the region. Rather than get disheartened by Hurricane Maria, we have become more emboldened as we seek to modernize and fortify Roseau City. I will now give you a brief synopsis of our 6-point strategy that will ensure that Roseau City become the gem of the Caribbean. First of all, river walls. The transformation of Roseau City into a modern climate-resilient smart city will involve the completion of river walls from both the northern and southern side of the Roseau River, starting from the sea and moving right up to Yui. that this will significantly lessen the likelihood of flooding and protect our capital city from rising river levels caused by torrential rain. In regards to the bridge, or the many bridges, the rehabilitation of all the bridges spanning Roseau River is presently ongoing. The intention here is to ensure that all bridges are as climate resilient as the new West Bridge. Remember, when we had the opening of the Roseau West Bridge, I attended the ceremony. Some of us may have had issues in regards to the process. But when development come your way, we must all come on board. And that's what I did. All of us, we grew up in Dominica, so we know that we have been challenged in Roseau by the issue of traffic congestion and parking. So these two major challenges, we will tackle it. But in order to alleviate this problem of traffic congestion, your government, this administration, has in its possession final designs for the construction of a major bypass through the Botanical Gardens. This bypass road will pass through the back of Botanical Gardens and will link to the Emsall Road close to UE. And work will soon commence on this initiative. In regards to parking, plans are being developed for the construction of a free tier level parking facility outside of the city center. We have had discussions with a son of the soil, an industrial engineer, who have proposed and suggested that we should use vertical parking systems in small lots in Roseau City. There is an investment opportunity for you, and I think we should take it serious and we can discuss it on the side. But this is an investment opportunity. Let's talk now of the modernization of the infrastructure of Roseau City. Last year showed us that although our utility production systems were in place, like the generators, all that were in place after Hurricane Maria, they were not damaged. But we had a major challenge with the distribution system because it was severely damaged. So moving forward with this lesson in mind, what we need to do, the government has already fast-tracked the implementation of the phase of the Roseau City redevelopment project, which stipulates the burying of all utility distribution lines underground. This construction will involve new drains, user-friendly sidewalks, and the enhancement and beautification of the city to include green spaces. Work has already commenced, and the public will start feeling the full impact of this project within the next few months. I almost end. The Botanical Gardens. A committee has already been formed, and this committee is meticulously working on a comprehensive rehabilitation and modernization of the Botanical Gardens into an urban park. The vision here is to establish the Botanical Garden as a focal centerpiece and a demonstration of Dominica's ecological prowess to the world. This new development of the gardens will include, but not limited to, rose gardens, fruit orchards, a reception center to take advantage of the new trend in experiential tourism, a modern restaurant, water features, and I dare say, a mini golf course, so all of us could enjoy it. Housing. Government has already spent over $2 million as direct support for roof repairs in Roseau, in either cash or materials. That is in post-Maria. And more is projected to be spent. The ambitious plan is to reach everyone and leave no man down. We're carrying everybody because it's our island, all of us have a stake. As part of building climate resilience in the city, your government has embarked upon a heavy transformation of Roseau City to include the construction of 134 dwelling units and 20 commercial spaces in Roseau City. The clearing of lands has already begun in the Pong area, and full work will commence sometime in December. These properties will be similar in design and stature to those in Bellevue-Chopin. You can ask the PAL rep for the Petit Savane constituency, Dr. Kenneth Daru, how brilliant it is, and that will continue across the country, not just Roseau. By the end of this financial year, your government would have spent over 100 million Eastern Caribbean dollars in the redevelopment and repositioning of Roseau. Give this administration a round of applause, please. Before I close, it would be remiss of me not to mention that after days after Hurricane Maria, I met with the Cabinet Secretary and the Prime Minister and offered my service to ensure that in the development of Dominica, I would have taken a patriotic and nationalistic approach to development of my country. I want us to understand that as Dominicans, we may see things differently, but we must focus on positivity. We must criticize constructively. And though there is the technology of the internet, using Facebook and Twitter and the other social media, we should use it to bring all of us together so we can build a better Dominica. Once again, I wish to welcome you back to your homeland, Dominica, especially during our 40th celebration of independence, which is celebrated under the theme, My Home, My Land, My Dominica, Building a Resilient Nation. May God continue to bless you, your families, and our Dominica. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Isaac, for the update on the development of our new resilient city. Ladies and gentlemen, it is for me a privilege to introduce to you our next speaker, a true Dominican, a true patriot, one who has led us out of the darkness of Maria to the hope and love that we share in today's theme, whose innovation and vision to make Dominica the first climate resilient nation of the world has captured the attention of the region and the international community. His recent award of the Doctor of Human Letters from the University of Duquesne in the USA is the most recent evidence of this recognition. One other piece of evidence of this recognition, and you may be able to share this with me, is that in my recent travels, no one has dared to ask me if I'm from the Dominican Republic. They dare not. Everyone now knows that we are citizens of the Commonwealth of Dominica. In fact, you will quicker hear if it's the Roosevelt's carried Dominica. It is therefore my honor to present one who has positioned Dominica on a path to development never ever experienced before. And I invite Honorable Roosevelt Scarrett, Prime Minister of Dominica, to address you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I have been
I have been sitting here this morning and watching the audience, and I have been trying to calculate how much money you've spent over the last several days in Dominica. and saying to myself how happy I am as Minister of Finance that we'll have an increase in revenue in the month of October and November in Dominica. And I must forewarn you, though when the government intends to impose taxation on citizens globally, they do not give you advance notice. But I am giving you advance notice that I shall be instructing the Customs Department to ensure that you do not go back home with any money in your pocket. And I can also say to you that all our ATM machines are functioning in Dominica. So the cash that you've brought, if it has been used up, there are machines all over Dominica, and you can certainly withdraw. Let me, first of all, recognize in our midst Honorable Reginald Ostry, our Deputy Prime Minister. Honorable Rosin Paul, our Minister for Commerce, Enterprise and Small Business Development. Honorable Joseph Isaac, Minister for Climate Resilience, Disaster Management, and Urban Renewal, and to thank them for their contributions this morning. Also, my other cabinet colleagues who are all here with us this morning, and they will be available to respond to some of your questions. Let me also recognize Father Charles Martin and to take this opportunity to congratulate him. He too will be awarded Dominica's second highest award of Sisterhood of Honor for his sterling contribution seeking to shepherd us to the promised land, heaven. His Excellency Steve Farrell, the Secretary to the Cabinet. Also, we have here Her Excellency Lauren Barnes Roberts, our Ambassador to the United Nations. And we have also Ambassador Gregoire, is our Ambassador to OECS and CARICOM. The permanent secretaries and public officers who are present. Ms. Afinia Benjamin, the Coordinator of the Diaspora Affairs Unit. Mr. Sam Raphael, local businessman and owner of Jungle Bay Resort. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, friends all, fellow Dominicans, the media, good morning, good afternoon, good morning. I'm not sure what time is it yet. Still morning. I have been asked to share a few words with you. And I see today as more of an opportunity to share ideas and experiences as a people. We're here as a family. You're not only here to hear from us, we also are very keen to hear on your many profound suggestions as to how we can work together to continue to build our country. But first, I want to thank all of you, sincerely, for the demonstration of commitment to country and family, and your love for our country, Dominica. In the manner in which you mobilize and galvanize support for us during our most difficult period after the Hurricane Maria. Without you, the Dominicans living overseas, and the extraordinary generosity you demonstrated, we would not have gotten where we are today. And we say thank you very much. And also, I see your decision to come here to Dominica is in large measure to continue to make your own contribution, to say to us who are resident here that we will continue to be with you as we journey together to build the world's first climate resilient nation our country, Dominica. So I'm really grateful to all of you for your commitment to our country. Because I always say that the majority of Dominicans love Dominica. The majority of Dominicans care for Dominica. And the majority of Dominicans mean well for Dominica. And in life, as there was Christ walking the earth as a human being, did everything with absolute perfection. He caused the blind to see, he caused the lame to walk, he raised Lazarus from the dead after 4 days, yet still he was crucified. Yet still he was crucified. So the question is, who are we mere mortal beings not to be persecuted by fellow men? But as the Prime Minister of this country, I take comfort that the majority are with Dominica. So I urge us to continue to be positive, because no matter what your perspective is on life, who you support or you don't, which part of Dominica you came from, we must not forget that what we do or say to Dominica will either be to its glory or to its destruction. And when the good Lord comes back, as it is written, He is not going to ask you how many times you prayed. He's not going to ask you how many times you went to church. He's going to refer you to the book of Matthew, the Gospel of Matthew. What have you done? What have you done to the least of my brothers? That's what he's going to say. He's going to ask all of us. And the question is, if we say that we are a Christian people, and whether you are Muslim or Hindu, whatever religion, it speaks to the same spirit. What would be our question, our answer to this question? And I must say, I have been touched by the vast majority of Dominicans. And we have people who not only provided financial and material help, but there are people who came back to Dominica to engage themselves in the actual reconstruction of Dominica. There are many Dominicans who came back and to help. So rather than criticizing, they came in to make a practical contribution. And I am sure Dr. Lander here, who practices in Trinidad and Tobago as a medical doctor, will not mind me mentioning his name. But this gentleman here, you could stand, please, so he could know you and see you. He is not a builder. I'm not sure whether he knows the difference between a hammer and a jigsaw. But he recognized that Dominica needed help with tradesmen and workmen, and he mobilized teams from Venezuela and from Trinidad and assisted us in the re-roofing of several hundreds of homes across Dominica. And these are the kinds of things that we need to associate ourselves with if we say that we really love Dominica. Criticizing, anybody can criticize. And it's easy to criticize. And sometimes those who criticize, and there's nothing wrong with constructive criticism. So if the government is doing A, it is fine to say, well, I do not agree with A, here is B. But to say that nothing is happening in Dominica, don't come to Dominica, Dominica is a bad state, is not fair to us. You know, and the fact is, I'm happy that so many of you have decided to defy what you've read and come. And even those who came with a certain level of pessimism and hesitation, when they came, they have gone through the process of an act of contrition. And I have read and messages, and some have sent me messages to apologize, to say, look, I am sorry because I relied on my perspective of Dominica, what I read and what they told me. But having been here, the only disappointment I have is that I did not take all my vacation to stay in Dominica. And we're not saying to you, my dear sisters and brothers, that all is perfect in Dominica. There is still a lot more work to be done in Dominica. But we must not forget that this country, just about 1 year ago, was devastated by the worst disaster in the history of our country. A country that does not have a godfather or a godmother or even adopted parents. We are on our own as a sovereign, independent nation. Yes, we are grateful to many benefactors who have committed financial and technical resources to us. But in large measure, we are on our own. We cannot move the Congress of the United States and say, well, go and pass a bill, an appropriation bill to give us money. We cannot do that. And when you look back, if you're honest with yourself, which I know all of us should be, because we are Christians, and you look back on where this country was just a year ago and where we are today, you cannot not say, thank you, Lord, thank you, Almighty God, for what you've done for Dominica. And I do not know what is wrong with, for some people to just say, well, okay, well, you know, the country is on the move again. Yes, there's a lot to be done. But to say nothing is happening in Dominica and so on, nothing good is happening. Well, you know, it's interesting. But we remain focused on the task of building this country. And just to give you an idea, just to clear the streets and roads in Dominica, with all of the debris, we have spent in excess of $120 million. Just clearing to make access to people's homes and properties. To dredge rivers, over $100 million to dredge rivers. No, you won't see the dredging river walking roads or into buildings. So just to take the debris for backhoe and put it in the truck and dump it, over $120 million. So, and the dredging is continuing. I'm hoping it can come to an end soon because it is a huge cost. So just for clearing and dredging, over $250 million. And every one of these dollars came from the government's treasury, all local funds. We have spent as a government helping people cover their homes. Cover their homes. About $125 million. Not even in big countries, people doing that. There are parts of Louisiana, and I'm criticizing the authorities in the United States or Louisiana, but there are parts of Louisiana were affected by Katrina who never returned. You go to Louisiana, and there's sections in Louisiana that are completely abandoned. People still waiting for FEMA to get them a check. Those of you who live in New Jersey with Sandy, you still have the letter that they gave you. Waiting, and every time you go to them, they tell you something, some other story, some other story, some other story. So just to give you the sheer cost of reconstruction. So when we woke up on the morning of the 19th of September, all of us impacted, including myself, I believe the first roof that may have gone in is where I was staying. And I left home early morning, and the government addressed the United Nations on Saturday. The hurricane was Monday night. And at that time, just a mere few days after, we declared to the world our vision to create the world's first climate resilient nation in the world. So even while we're trying to find our way through the rubble, the government had put itself in gear to think about the future and to think of the reconstruction of Dominica and what kind of reconstruction would you want to follow. And we believe that that vision of creating the world's first climate resilient nation is something which we must absolutely pursue. We have no choice, because the reality is, my dear brothers and sisters, is that the weather system, as the scientists are saying, hurricanes and storms will come more frequently and more ferociously, and therefore they will be more destructive. And we're seeing it. We've seen it with flooding in Trinidad, we see it in flooding in the United Kingdom, we see it in flooding in the United States. And to just give you a couple examples, after Tropical Storm Erica, we declared to you, our citizens and residents, that we're going to build back better. And in the whole concept of building back better, the government explained to the country that when we put this infrastructure down, if we are to be impacted by a storm similar to Erica, we will better be able to withstand it. So we were able to put some infrastructure between Erica and between the advent of Maria. The West Bridge, for example, which we were criticized for. There are some people, they didn't worry about their family, you know. Just to play politics, they try to rush to Roseau and jump over the debris to see whether the West Bridge was washed away. But you see, when God is on your side and you're on God's side, you don't have much to worry about. And by the grace of God, and with the articulation which He handed down to us, the West Bridge stood up firm and solid. Not even the paint on the railings were washed away. Similarly, the bridge that was constructed by the Chinese for us in Layu Park, in Layu Valley, nothing happened to that bridge because we used our vision to build back better. We are constructing 341 residences for our brothers and sisters from Petit Savan. And at the time of the hurricane, these buildings were under construction. And nothing happened to any of these buildings. Nothing. We have the cables underground, the electrical lines underground. And so, had this community been up and running, occupied, we could have simply brought in a generator there, crank it up, and they would have lights next day. Because the distribution lines would not have been impacted because they're underground. And that is what we're seeking to build in Roseau and the rest of the country, to build greater resilience. And the whole concept which predated Hurricane Maria because we had the designs for the Roseau Enhancement Project before Maria. And the whole idea with the Roseau Enhancement Project, which we're going to pursue with even greater vigor, is that all of the electrical lines, all of the telephone lines will be in underground ducts. And those of us who know Roseau very well, when you walk from Astafan or from the police station, immigration department, and you go all the way down to the old market, you'll be walking on one level. There'll be no up and down, up and down, up and down anymore in the city of Roseau when that is completed. And of course, we are building on the river defenses. There were 2 or 3 sections that we have to construct, and we'll be issuing the contract very soon for these, so that we can mitigate against the possibility of flooding in the city. So that, and this is what we will replicate in the rest of the country. So even now, all of our new housing that we're constructing are taking those elements into consideration. So you go to Castle Bruce, you go to La Plaine, you go to Portsmouth, you go to Largo in Portsmouth, and very soon you will see buildings being built in the city, because we're going to build about 155 apartment units in the first phase. All of these buildings are taking the resilience concept and vision into consideration. So every building we're building will become a hurricane shelter by itself and in itself, with concrete roofs, with weatherproof windows and doors, so that our people can feel safe in those buildings. So we're committed to this, and we have made a commitment to build some 5,000 new homes for our citizens. 5,000 new homes. And I can tell you, in just less than, just about a year, we have made tremendous strides in that regard. Contracts for hundreds of homes have been signed, and work have started. So I'm telling you, don't listen to what Scary telling you. Go and drive in Castle Bruce. Go to La Plaine. Go to Pickard in Portsmouth. Go to Bellevue Chopin. Don't just sit there and listen to what Scary telling you. Take a drive, and you'll see these things before your very eyes. So we are, and this will be replicated throughout the country, my brothers and sisters. We also contracted a loan on grants of some $40 million from the World Bank. And that entire $40 million will go towards the construction of climate resilient homes for our citizens. So we have a comprehensive program for the sheltering of our citizens in Dominica, irrespective of who you are or where you reside. In healthcare, as you know, before the hurricane we started the construction of the new National Hospital. I believe 227 beds, with a wide range of existing and new services. Because the whole vision for the healthcare in Dominica is to ensure that we can minimize the need for our citizens and residents to have to be flown out of Dominica. That's the whole vision behind it. And the hurricane came and it stopped work, and the Chinese government we have resumed work this month, October. So we're thankful to the Chinese government for that. But we could have started before, but we had to go through a redesigning of certain elements of the hospital. So the government indicated to the Chinese government, on which they agreed to have the roofs transformed into a concrete design. So the roofs at the hospital, in every hospital building, except the 2 that were already advanced, will be in concrete. They have also agreed to change the type of windows to ensure that they're weatherproof, and also the doors. And there are also some issues of functionality that the Chinese have agreed to. So having agreed to these things, we are well on our way to constructing this brand new hospital that will benefit every single citizen in Dominica. things like urology, nephrology, cardiology, all of these units will be at the hospital to ensure that we can provide improved healthcare services to our citizens. But that's first phase. We've also negotiated, and the Chinese government has agreed, to a second phase of the intervention in healthcare in Dominica, where the hospital is concerned. And that second phase will include, among other things, one, a helicopter pad. So the helicopter could land at the hospital, pick the patient up, and we would fly the patient to Martinique or wherever, instead of having to drive to the airport. Improved capacity for water storage, and also bringing in on board renewable energy through the use of solar energy to generate the power for the hospital. And importantly too, we will be signing a special agreement with the government of China, because they brought in a ship here recently, as many of you would have seen, and they did wonders in Dominica for the Dominican people. And we're going to be entering into agreement with the Chinese government, where we are identifying, and we have identified the interventions which our Dominican citizens and residents go overseas to secure the most. And we are getting the Chinese to provide us with these expertise to be available on Dominica, so that things which our patients would have to go to Martinique and other countries for, we'll be able to provide it here for them in Dominica. And in addition to that, we have also get them to agree to have our local doctors go to China for 6 months or thereabout for refresher courses, to be exposed to new technology and new practices, and bring this back home to the benefit of our people. Because we have to create sustainability, we have to create a transfer of knowledge and skills so that we can become independent as ourselves. And that will also be the same for various areas of nursing intervention. So we are well on our way to transforming the healthcare and the delivery of healthcare services in Dominica. So we're not only concentrating on the physical aspect of the hospital, but also on the services and the service delivery. And I have said to our Dominican people, you see, when you come into our hospital, when our hospital finishes built, we don't want your pillowcase from your home. We don't want your bed sheets from our home. All the bed sheets and the pillowcases will be all in white to maintain international standards. So stop, those of you who have your little bed and stuff, hide over when you go to the hospital, start using it now at your homes. Because this hospital will be a state-of-the-art hospital, and one that will provide optimal and optimum care for our citizens, visitors, and residents. In respect to some critical major infrastructural interventions, the government has taken a decision, and we have in fact entered into an MOU with a firm for the construction of 2 ports. One, a new modern cargo container port, and we'll be building this port down at Donkey Beach in Canefield, at the back of the 8-Bank Industrial Estate. And then we will reconstruct the existing Woodbridge Bay into a cruise village with modern duty-free shopping and all of the amenities you will find in upscale duty-free shopping. And the whole idea behind the construction of the cruise village is that we believe in the short term, we can increase our cruise village, or cruise passenger numbers from what it is now to 600,000. And in the medium to long term, to take it to 1 million passengers a year. And one can appreciate the positive impact on the economy if we were to take our cruise passenger number to 1 million. The other point is in respect to the international airport. Now, I can tell you, you'll hear people kicking dust on Facebook and social media. I give you the assurance that this government shall build the international airport for Dominica. We are moving apace to acquire the required lands. We have the money to pay the homeowners, the property owners, and I have given them the assurance that once they settle with the government on the price, they will get paid within 48 hours of the agreement. And as we speak, we are conducting more in-depth geotechnical studies to give us a better reading of the soil type in this area to advise on the final designs. And in the process, we're securing the financing for the construction of the international airport. So that will come to Dominica at some point under this present administration, my dear brothers and sisters. As you heard from Mr. Raphael, Sam Raphael, and others, we are constructing several upscale resorts in Dominica. And these are not words. Go and drive in Portsmouth. Stop at the Coconut Beach. Watch on the hill, because when you drive past, you may miss it. Stop, walk, watch up. Don't only watch down, watch up. You will see it. Go down to the Bell Hall. You know where Bell Hall is? Ask somebody if you can remember it, and you'll see the edifice that's going up there, the massive construction taking place. And when you drive from Portsmouth, you come back and you go down to Soufriere. You cannot miss this exceptional hotel that's been built there in Soufriere overlooking the Caribbean and Atlantic Oceans. 120 rooms, 60 of which will be available in April of this or next year, opening its doors to visitors. 5-star hotels. First time in the history of Dominica, we are receiving 5-star hotels in Dominica under construction, get to open in 2019. And you want to tell me nothing happened in Dominica? Nothing happened in Dominica? Some people just sit in America and write foolishness on Facebook and say nothing happened in Dominica. You know what I'm going to do? I will send a ticket for some of them to come down and see it, you know. And well, for example, expanding, not only reconstructing the old wing of the Fort Young Hotel, but put in additional rooms. They're going to increase the number of rooms at Fort Young by 35. So from 75 plus a 35, you can do the maths. Secret Bay is opening and expanding. So, yes, there's much more to be done, but things are happening. And if we work together, more things can happen. And in the next few weeks, so we have a Marriott in Dominica. You hearing that? We have a Hilton in Dominica. We have a Kempinski in Dominica. We have a Jungle Bay in Dominica. Bigger and better than what it was in Dalis. And just to tell you, this afternoon at 4 o'clock, we will have the official groundbreaking ceremony for the Hilton Hotel in Salisbury this afternoon. So, when I leave you here today, I'll go and get something fast to eat and rush to Salisbury to be part of the ceremony. And And this is not only about taking 2 shovels and turning some sand, Work has started, on the hotel. Work has started on the hotel, being constructed by a local empowering Dominicans. And I can tell you a story about Sam Raphael. I know he don't mind. I know he doesn't mind I tell you that. But you know that, and he may still be, I don't know, but he was on the wrong side. I don't know. But while he was on the wrong side politically, but as far as I was concerned, this was a Dominican investor in Dominica. And he didn't come to me. I went to him. And I said, the hotel is destroyed in Daly's. We shall help you every step of the way to reconstruct this hotel in Dominica. And interestingly, while I am there embracing Mr. Raphael to rebuild his hotel, the leader of the opposition calls him. I heard him say so publicly, that's why I can repeat it. Calls him to tell him, do not build the hotel. I mean, when this party, which I have the honor to lead, was in opposition, we were builders. We were giving scholarships to Dominicans as Labour Party in opposition. We were bringing doctors from Guadeloupe, Dr. Mark Cook, with medication, and we're going house to house in communities to administer health care to Dominicans. We built preschools. We paid for students' bus fare. We bought them books. We bought them uniform in opposition. And when Rosie and Mike would go out to Dominica, it was to promote Dominica, to get to sell agricultural produce, markets, and so forth. Rosie would go to England. Some of you say England. You go to England and so forth, and Rosie would use his connections for his Black Power days with Bernie Grant, and to use that door to get into the British Parliament and the British government and say, look, you must do more for your former colony. Rosie was the first person to cause Dominicans to wear the African garbs, because he'd go to Ghana and other countries and bring these African outfits and have these beautiful ladies from Bath State walking on the stage modeling. That's what we did. We were constructive. We were constructive. We were about building Dominica. Yes, when Mike and Rosie were in Parliament, it blows on Miss Charles. When they're in Dominica. But when they went out, they were Dominican patriots. They were Dominican statesmen. Whenever Rosie had the opportunity to speak in the mic, you could never hear Rosie saying anything bad about Dominica. So you don't have to be in government to make a positive contribution and a positive difference. It comes down, my brothers and sisters, to a simple understanding. A simple understanding. And Maya Angelou captured it very well. You know, to lead a people successfully, you must first love them. Love them. It's not about he's not or she's not a nice person. That's not interesting. People are interested in nice people. People are interested in people who care about their welfare and well-being. Who love them. So we are committed to these major pieces of infrastructure, and we continue to pray to the Lord that He'll continue to bless us and to see these projects come to a successful completion. So when you come back next year for you'll be staying in a 5-star resort. You'll be staying in one of the Jungle Bay, beautiful. I mean, my friend, look, Mr. Raphael will allow you to come into the property and walk around. So you go there and say, hey, I was at the Diaspora Conference. Sometime you come and see his hotel and so forth. Go and see the quality of craftsmanship by Dominican people, the stonework, the woodwork, the quality of construction done by our own people down at Jungle Bay. Exceptional work, all done with pride in seeking to build a better Dominica. In respect to you, the diaspora, because I want to end because I would like to hear from you. There's a lot more we can talk to you about, a lot more we can talk about. All we're asking of you, those of us who live here, is for you to be constructive about your country. Be positive about your country. Yes, we may not always agree. You have families, you live together. Sometimes the whole week passes and you don't talk to each other. So that's normal human behavior. You know, and if you go back to biblical days, I mean, Cain killed Abel out of jealousy because Christ accepted Abel's offering and he didn't accept his offering. I mean, the Bible is repleted with examples of human failures and human shortcomings. But we must never lose sight. Because, you know, those of you who reside in the United States in particular, you will see the Americans fighting each other. Anything negative about their president, as much as they may like him or not like him, they will put in their place. Because for them, first and foremost, they are Americans. And I have read the oath which some of you took. To become American citizens. Why I say, well, that oath deadly. Let me tell you something. The oath says, I shall take up arms. Arms. Not this day, you know, not arms, you know. In defense of the United States of America. And I am not telling you, I am not asking you here today to take up arms in defense of Dominica. I am saying to you to be simply positive about your country, Dominica. And I will say finally to the minority who spend their time chastising the country and attacking the country, and in the process attacking me as Prime Minister. Let me say to you that no matter what you say or do on social media, that is not going to take this government out of office. So if that is your objective, we have already called upon the good Lord to rebuke it. And as he has answered our prayers 4 times straight, I see he answered our prayers 5 times more straight. So I can tell the minority who are there that you have a lot of typing to do, because you're going to do that for another 20 years. Another unbroken 20 years typing, scare it this, scare it that, scare it must go, scare it must... Because the majority of Dominicans, the vast majority of Dominicans, appreciate what this government continues to do for the people of Dominica. And I will say to you finally, as I've said to those of us who reside here in Dominica, that the international community, the World Bank, the European Union, the British government, the government of Canada, Japan, China, etc., Venezuela, etc., are not helping us because we were hit by a hurricane. You guys look like you, what's Kerry talking about there, man? They're helping us because they are excited by the expressed vision of this government to create the world's first climate resilient nation. And even when I made that announcement on behalf of the people of Dominica at the United Nations, many of them were perplexed. They were dumbfounded to say, well, look, this little country, Dominica, we can't find on the map. It wants to punch much higher than it can reach. But we know from our lived experience with this hurricane that we have but no choice but to pursue a resilience path. And I give you the commitment that while it is more expensive to achieve, it is beneficial in the long run for all of us. And it may take a little more time than to just patch up something. To reconstruct something will take time. And therefore, we are prepared to invest the political capital into this because we believe it is in the best interest of Dominica. And it is not the first time that this government has been challenged. We were challenged when it came into office to restore the financial integrity of our country. We went to the IMF program, and we ended up being successful at it. And let me tell you, notwithstanding the fact that your country, our country, was impacted by 226% of its GDP. And for several months after the hurricane, we earned not $1 in taxes. We, this government, because of the prudent and responsible manner in which it has conducted the affairs of this country over the last several years, has not defaulted on one payment of its loan to anybody. As a matter of fact, when I went to Washington to meet with the World Bank to negotiate for the financing, I asked them, have you checked your account in respect to our payments? They all smiled. Because in a matter of just a few days after the hurricane, we paid the World Bank monies that were due to it at the end of September. And in any disaster, anywhere in the world, whether you're a developed country or a developing country, anywhere in the world, government would lay off workers. You go to St. Thomas, the governor there is my personal friend, and it is just a reality. You lay off people. In Puerto Rico, in Houston, Texas, several federal and state and city employees lost their jobs. But in your small country, Dominica, not one public servant has lost his or her job since the hurricane. And in addition to that, they have all gotten paid on time. Look at this. The month just ended yesterday, you know. Yesterday, you know. And they got paid on the 23rd of October, you know. Yesterday. Tell me, would the Queen pay you so early? From Her Majesty's Treasury? No. Because you have to be paid for your full days. But we pay them a whole week in advance. And it is not because, my dear brothers and sisters, we have plenty money, because we need plenty more money. it is because of the manner in which we have managed the affairs of Dominica. So, the point is, if these things are being done, and I mean, what is the change about? To do what? We went to China in 2004. We established relations with China. We were criticized. Now everybody in China these days. Everybody eating Chinese food. I mean, so what changed? But I'm happy to see you. And we are very, boy, I can't remember, many, many more of you came this time, eh? That's nice. We really, really appreciate it. And don't forget what I told you earlier, you know. If there's anything you live here with today, what I've said, is that you spend all your money. That is the easiest thing to remember in all what I have shared with you this morning. Don't spend your money, because you see, when we go overseas and we want to buy something in a store in the United States, we convert it to EC and say, but that thing expensive. But now that you have purchasing power, that thing cheap in Dominica. So you're spending money. Okay? But thank you very much. We really appreciate you coming. Really appreciate you. And let me tell you something. As long as I am Prime Minister of this country, and based on what people are telling me, it'll be for a very long time to come. We shall defend your right under the Constitution of Dominica to vote in Dominica's election. We will defend your right because it is a right. And there is no institution in this country that has any legal or constitutional authority to remove your name on the voters list unless you are a dead person in Dominica. Because voting is too much of an important fundamental right. People die to vote. People shed blood to vote. And we want to go back to the days where only landowners could vote in Dominica. No way. We're making progress, and we have to be progressive in our thinking, and we can't go back to old days. Those who want to go back to old days will stay where they are, and will continue to move forward. God bless you, my dear brothers and sisters.
Okay. All right, as we move on. As we move on, ladies and gentlemen, all I could add to that is thank you very much, Honorable Prime Minister. We now move to the open discussion period, and the practice is that we take 3 or 4 comments and the Prime Minister or any other minister responds. We will, because of the schedule, we're going to signal from the PM when we have enough questions. And we will move to the informal sessions with the ministers. So now we open the floor for comments and suggestions and discussions. There are 2 microphones in each of the aisles. So you could just queue up behind the microphones. We take 5 questions and then we get responses.
Mr. Clerk.
Okay, we do 1 left, 1 right. So we take. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah. That's it.
All right, let's start with the lady on the left, on my left.
I applaud you and want to thank you and your cabinet for the excellent work you have done in making Dominica a more resilient community. Well done. I have two brief questions. You mentioned about the dredging of the river, and I know there are lots of work being done, but as we all know, Dominica is an island that's full of rivers. In dredging the rivers, what I need to ask is what assistance or what advice do you as a government have in the people who have properties close to or in the path of the river? I know that might be a long-term plan, but just some questions I would like to address. And my second and final question is, as a specialist in mental health for over 20 years, one of the things I've heard is the impact that the hurricane has had on the community, not just Hurricane Maria, but pre that, which is Tropical Storm Erica. So what I need to know is what sort of facilities is available for people who have post-traumatic stress disorder as a long term, because obviously it's a permanent wrong, but it's still something that's continuing, and how we, as people who have that experience, as I said, over 20 years, can actually assist Dominica. Thank you.
Okay,
My name is John Scotland. I'm a Scotland. My dad used to be a local government commissioner. I have two questions. I mean, two questions in the sense that I don't know what part the government plays in what you call the infirmary. In the infirmary is a place like, I think the mere fact you call it the infirmary is like a stigma. Is that we could change the name from the infirmary to like a care, like a, you know, like yes, yeah. Is there any possibility? Because the infirmary is like a stigma, and it's cleaner than, I mean, many places I've been in the United States. So can we change that name from the infirmary to, yeah, yeah. And the other question is the other question is Roseau. I mean, I live in Roseau. I'm from St. Joe, Castlereagh. My parents were from Castlereagh, born in St. Joe, but I grew up in Roseau. And the traffic down there is horrendous. Can we put some, what you call, can we put some parking thing where you pay for parking? Some meters where you pay for parking? Because what I see is like people come into town and they just park and leave. And then you have like a lot of fumes, like the buses, a lot of fumes. So can we set up a system where we could have some like parking parking meters in Roseau? We employ maybe about 5-10 people. That's part of employment too. And then we have, you know, and just ask them people to pay, because the parking in Roseau is horrendous. The traffic is crazy. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's up to you.
okay.
Congratulations to the government and people of Dominica. I think we saw the pictures and videos. Those of us who had the opportunity to come back right after Hurricane Maria, I'm pretty sure we saw what happened to Dominica. And I think it's really our responsibility when we get back to our homes, as we call it now, whether it's in the U.S., Canada, whatever it is. I think it's our responsibility as Dominicans to let people know, to let our neighbors, our friends, our groups back home, I'm talking about Dominica, that's where we're from, to let them know what we have seen and what we have experienced. I think that positive vibes has to be spread from us so that we can counteract whatever negatives are out there. So my message to Dominicans here, whenever you get back, begin that journey, begin spreading that message of positivity that you have seen and that you have experienced. So congratulations to the government and people of Dominica. Much appreciated for what you've been doing. Continued blessings. Quick suggestion in relation to what Mr. Scotland just mentioned about the parking situation in Dominica. In addition to the whole question of parking meters, I think it might be also a suggestion that can take on board where we have a shuttle service. That is, you park, those of you who are in Roseau, you park outside of Roseau, and a shuttle can take you to Roseau. If you want to come into Roseau, then of course you pay. So that's something we can probably look at as well in terms of the suggestions. But overall, I feel so proud to be Dominican as I always have been. Continue what you're doing. We love it. Thank you so much.
My name is Dr. David Michael. I'm from Belvidere, the constituency of Dr. Kenneth Daru. I lived through Tropical Storm Erika and Hurricane Maria. Those natural disasters didn't discourage me. I'm now building my home in Belvidere, and I'm here to participate and contribute to the life of Dominica. I would like to mention the good practice of Honourable Rayburn Blackmore, who communicates with his constituents, and I would like to recommend that other parliamentary representatives takes a cue from Mr. Blackmore and the member for Soufriere, because communication, availability and accessibility to constituents is really very important. I would like also to say the government website and this forum today is very encouraging to returning Dominicans to participate and contribute. My own lived experience is that communication is far too challenging, and the government, the ministers, the cabinet need to look at systems, structures and procedures where you can make an appointment with a minister or a parliamentary representative or a civil servant, and you can get an appointment that is kept. I know everyone's busy, but I was an elected local councillor in a London borough with 300,000 people. I had responsibilities that were borough-wide, and people could access me by email, by telephone, and I was able to respond in a professional and timely manner. If we value Dominicans, we should show that value and respect by being able to return their emails, their telephone calls, and Prime Minister and members of the Cabinet and the government, if you are welcoming and encouraging us, then please put a system, structure and process in place that when we're returning, as I am, we can come to a nominated person, have a dialogue, and there are timescales and timelines for the conversations we're having. Thank you very much.
My name is Linda Fontaine. I'm from London. My question to the government is, what is the government's strategy on improving road safety in Dominica, particularly for those who driving members of the public? Because I just feel really unsafe when I step on the buses. They just overtake anyway. So that's my question.
Yes, go ahead. Yes, ma'am, on the right.
I'm from Honorable Roosevelt Scarrett, Prime Minister of Dominica, and other members of the cabinet. I'm Rosie Martin. I'm a returnee. Prime Minister, you may not remember, but you invited me to return upon my retirement. That's one of your annual gala in Toronto. And I am 6 years now. I returned. I was there when Maria rocked the boat. I saw you. You maybe didn't see me on the boat, but I was in that boat. And as a returnee, I don't know what you had in place for returnees, but I don't think we were dealt properly, because we had a lot of struggle, and we are still struggling. and I didn't know who to turn to. My husband turned to the parliamentary representative, and she had to get his name on the third time. And when I see he's not coming back with any result, I went and I see why he's not getting result from her. And when she did take him on, she took him and she put him on the back burner, which we stayed there a long time. And it's only in October, just about 2 weeks ago, we finished put the deck on our house. And we haven't got nothing. All our doors, all our windows are dark. And you talk about love. You know, after Maria, there was no love. We struggled. And returnees are elderlies, okay? Yeah.
Okay, get out of
It's okay. You'll be fine.
Just say what you have to say. Just say what you have to say.
Returnees are elderlies, okay? And they did not look at us as elderlies. I had to put 20 years of my age back and be 50 years because my husband and I had to lift everything and do everything on our own. And any help we needed, we had to pay. It wasn't easy.
Thank you. We answer or take another one. Okay, I'm good. That's fine. That's fine. Go ahead. Okay, sir.
Hello, good day, everybody, all Dominicans. My name is Vincent Gabori. I reside in Houston, Texas. I first want to make everybody here give a round of applause for the Prime Minister and the government of Dominica for the way that I find that they have things going on after a year of devastation. I was here after Hurricane Maria. I spent 6 weeks here, and I wanted to run back in 2 weeks. There was no light, mosquitoes, no everything. And then I stick it out, and I make 6 weeks, and I went back. I said to my fellow people in Houston, Texas, Dominica going to take at least 10 years to get back on its foot. That's what I saw, the devastation. And it's a surprise to me that 1 year later, Dominica almost like it was before. There is a lot of work to be done, continue to be done. But for the pace the government is moving, I find they're doing damn good. And the other thing I have to say, the opposition, if they come together with the government and work as one to rebuild Dominica, that would be better than continue criticizing. Because a lot of things I hear seen on internet and over the media, I come here, it's way different. I come back 1 year after and Dominica is real moving on. Continue the good work, the Prime Minister and the government of Dominica. Thank you.
Honorable Prime Minister and all your cabinet, I'm a returner from the British country. I am so confused in thinking in my mind and in my eyes what I'm seeing around me. I would like you to help me to understand what is the reason that the British returners is so badly ignored when seeking help for what they need. The British returners is not, I insist, not getting help.
Good day to the Prime Minister and all his members of cabinet. No matter where I roam, I am Dominican first and foremost, and I work in that regard. Now, I would like to call the attention of the cabinet people to tighten up on the employees, in the government buildings. It's very unsatisfactory. They don't help you as they will. They send you from pillar to post, and they hardly know what they're doing, and you end up with not getting what you need to know and to get. Also, I would have a word for the diasporans as well. Please, I meet a lot of people. Some people who are in the outside world, they don't care to help their family, and this is what some people relate to me. Now, I can tell you, if you help your people, it raises their standard of living, it raises the economy. Some of the people you send for, they go to college, they earn a higher living, they can send more money back to Dominica. So please, those of you here who can help sponsor your daughter, your brother, whatever it is, I wish you would take that heed. I did, and I'm very, very happy about it. In fact, right now, I have a sister and her husband, whom my husband sponsored, and they're right here now for the 40th anniversary. They spend money here that helps the community. And we have to be careful what we write in magazines, on Facebook, and wherever, because Facebook and all these things are worldwide. And I read a lot of things that really disappoint me, and we don't help Dominica that way. Now, I know of people who read magazines, love what is read. They came to Dominica to reside, and they spend money. And this helps Dominica. The negatives just delay us. Now, thank you, one more. That's it. Okay, I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you. You answer now? Think so? Okay. All right, we'll have some answers now.
Yes. Good day, everyone. Just to respond to the two questions here, I think that relates to some of my knowledge here. The question that was asked in reference to the dredging and the safe areas and the unsafe areas, and what is the government doing for folks who have land in areas that are what I term vulnerable. We must understand that Dominica is a country that has been in formation for a while, about 28 million years old, this country. It's much younger than countries like Antigua. Now, this is the first time in our living history, and when we speak of our lives on earth, all of us here, 100, 80, 70, 100 and something, some of us. But it's the first time we have seen an event like Maria. I saw David, wasn't as bad as Maria. Now, when you look at the abolishment, just to give you the context, when you look at the abolishment of slavery, the plantation days, and where we settled around the rivers, close to the plantations, we had all our little homes there. And then, the rivers over the year, the floods and whatnot, and it's not the first time we're having hurricanes in Dominica, but when we purchase land close to rivers, not respecting the buffer zones, and it's not your fault alone at all. Some of these developers, they sell land to you. Look at Checkall Valley, for example. As a little boy, I used to be walking inside of Checkall, right next to the river. Maria came, and he taught us a serious lesson in the Roseau Valley as well, too, in Pishley. So, the government's vision on resilience, we're taking into consideration relocation completely. We can spend millions and millions of dollars in trying to protect one or two homes, but I'll be honest with you, Mother Nature, we can never protect from Mother Nature, because when it rains, it pours in Dominica. Look at Mont Diablotin. Ideally, Mont Diablotin drains on the northeast coast through the Douglas Charles Airport, and on the west coast through Collyho and these villages there. You can do what you want. When it rains, and it rains heavily up there, the mountain, it must drain the water. Douglas Charles Airport airstrip is in the direct path of the draining point. So we can put all the river walls we want. That is why we have to build an international airport away from that area. So for your question, my dear, I feel for you. I know it is because I was raised by a river too. But we have to move from that river area in terms of the floodplain. We can do what we want, it must flow there. And if you study Dominica carefully, all the carvings for your lava flows and whatnot from these nice, huge mountains we have there, they can only flow one way. And over millions of years, they have been carving through. Some of us are settled here because we figure 180 years is a lot. I'm speaking about millions of years. So just please understand that, that's one. The road safety sign, safety on the roads, I agree with you, my dear, terrible. In terms of the guys overtaking in all sorts of crazy areas, and it's frightening, very frightening. What we have done as a government, and is, we are looking towards improving on our road safety signs. As a matter of fact, we have been discussing that seriously, because we are still challenged from Hurricane Maria with a lot of edge failures and some bad areas. So we understand your concern here in terms of our police and our enforcement agencies. We're going to have to look more and more at that, but we too have problems with the way some drivers operate on the roads as well too. Okay? So I'll just take these two for the first. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Daru, Minister of Health. Let me thank the young lady who raised her concerns as it pertains to the mental health issues, especially post-traumas, post-disasters. Let me just say that we have a very long-running mental health program running here through our public health system, made up of 2 full-time psychiatrists, several nurses, social workers, etc. Obviously, this system was challenged by, first of all, Tropical Costa America, and I really want to thank the psychiatric or the mental health team for providing services, especially to the residents of the communities most affected, namely Petit Savan, Dubic, and some of the villages on the West Coast. Obviously, Hurricane Maria was a completely different story with the whole island affected. So these services continued, and the way our public health system is set up is like at the community level, we have the community health nurses, the community health aides, who do regular visits to the communities. So anybody needing these services, counseling, etc., would then be referred to the central mental health team. Again, I want to state disaster of that magnitude, Hurricane Maria, would have challenged not just the mental health, but all services in Dominica. So I'm really glad that you also openly said that you're a mental health specialist, and I really look forward to hearing from you. Now, as to the way forward, of course, as it pertains to building resilience in the health sector, and the Prime Minister spoke to some of the plans we have as it pertains to the new national hospital. However, I've always said that the infrastructure on its own is not going to cut it. So when we talk about building a climate resilient country, we're building about developing and building resilience in all sectors, including health. And of course, that will include a human resource audit and of course, augmenting and beefing up our human resource, and in this case, of course, mental health services. So I look forward to hearing from you after this meeting to see how maybe when you return, or if while you're out, how you can assist in that program. Thank you.
I agree, Mr. Michael, with you entirely. You know, the timeliness of responses from our public services, not only here in Dominica, but it's very difficult sometimes. Very difficult sometimes. And we're seeking to, as time goes by, to seek to improve on it. So I think one of the things we have done where the diaspora is concerned is to put a mechanism where you can now register your interests and your areas of expertise. And we give you the assurance that somebody will, in fact, engage you and to see how we can benefit from your talent and your skills in the service of Dominica. So we are mindful of that, of continuing to improve on our responsiveness as a public service from time to time. I have taken note of the concerns raised by Mrs. Mate. I give you the assurance that somebody will come to see you on Tuesday morning at your home. So we can... And also my friend from Virgin Lane, right? Virgin Lane. Someone will come and see you on Tuesday so we can sit down with you and find out what your particular challenge is, and we can see how we can work with you to resolving them. But if we failed you in any way, we apologize for that. It's not deliberate, it's not intentional, okay? But we thank you for your comments and for your observations and so on. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take a few more questions. I'll start with you. I could go ahead. What's that?
My name is Elsa Roy. I'm from Vegas, and I reside in New York City. I first want to say congratulations to the government of Dominica for doing a fabulous job post-Maria. And I haven't heard anybody congratulated them yet, but I'm going to be the first to do so. The police department for doing a fabulous job during Creole Fest. And I also want to make one comment to my Facebook critics that Dominica is rising again. I have a question, and I think it's probably get to the Prime Minister. I would like to know, based on my understanding, there are many registered nurses. As a registered nurse myself, I'm a little bit concerned about what's going on here. Based on my understanding, there are many registered nurses leaving the island. So I would like to know, do you have a plan in place for a better retention to keep the nurses here? Because when you build a hospital without nurses, we cannot run the hospital. And I would also like to know what is the status, or if you have any information to give the Dominican public, especially the people of Portsmouth, about the replacement of Ross. That's my question.
Okay, next.
Hello, good morning, Prime Minister and all Dominicans. My name is Maureen Ambo. I'm from London, England, and residing in the village of Salisbury, Dominica. I've come to Dominica several times on vacation. I'm currently on a 5-week vacation at the moment. I've been to the majority of the events and had the time of my life. Everything's been polished, professionally arranged, no problems, no incidents of any kind that I've seen. And I'm just saying this is one of the best holidays I've ever had. And I want to thank the government, the people of Dominica, the cabinet, and everyone involved in making me having the most pleasurable holiday of a lifetime here. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. I don't normally speak. You can ask my family at family gatherings or anything like that. I don't speak. But I would have kicked myself. I didn't take the opportunity just to voice my opinion today. And I'm in support of the government. I love the Dominican people. I'm always here on vacation. And I just love the island 100%. My only concern this one time I've come to Dominica, every time I've been going out to an event nearly every other day, I'm seeing an accident of a car turned over. I've never seen this before in my life in Dominica, especially down the residential streets or the little villages. Sure, I'll be very grateful if the government can look into putting some restrictions, because as far as I'm aware, there's no speed limits at all in Ireland. And it's just so sad and heartbreaking seeing cars overturn. I've lost count the amount of cars I've seen in accidents since I've been here in the 3 weeks. Especially what's concerning me is down the residential streets or the little villages where there's children on the roadside. Just the other day, I saw a car turned over in a small little narrow road where there's children on the roadside with a telephone pole on top of the car. I would be very grateful if the government can look into this, because, I'm surely this can be avoided. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's move to you.
Good afternoon. My name is Lorraine Pear, and I am currently residing in New York City. I have 2 questions. Travel to Dominica is really, really difficult. First of all, if we can get a plane to take us to Puerto Rico or Antigua or Barbados, the second leg to come to Dominica is almost non-existent. And it's making it really difficult for people to come over. I know lots of people who wanted to come to Dominica for the 40th independence, but couldn't get flights out of Barbados or out of Antigua to get here because there's not a connection. And when we get to Barbados or Antigua or wherever, we are treated so badly. We are treated like second-class citizens. I wanted to know, despite the fact that we want an international airport, if the government could consider getting its own planes to have a fleet of planes bypass Liat and just get us to Dominica. It's ridiculous already. I mean, I love the idea that we're going to get an international airport, but it's going to take a lot of time. So in the interim, excuse me.
Come on, let's get some silence, please.
So in the interim, I'm wondering if we can get a fleet of planes that belongs to Dominica that could take people in and out. So that's my first question. My second question has to do with the fact that, yes, Dominica is advancing, things are happening, people are building, but I am really concerned about security. I am scared for people who live on this island because of the things that I have, excuse me, because of the things that I have heard. And it's not just recently. I know of people who have come and built, and then they've been murdered in their own places. And it's, I would like to know if there is some form of security that people who want to invest in this country will be afforded once they make the decision to be entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Come on, let's be quiet, please. Hello? Can you please allow others to raise their issues and questions in peace? You, lady. Come on, next question. Lady on my left.
Good afternoon, Mr. Prime Minister and other cabinet members and all my Dominican people. Good afternoon. My name is Nelista Thomas. I'm from St. Joseph, but I reside in St. Croix, Virgin Islands. Now I have some concerns, some ideas. Customer service needs a big improvement. And I say that it is a Caribbean thing, and I love my country, and I want my country to improve on customer service. I need, and another point is enforce the Little Act at all over the country, not only around Dominica, all over the country. Not only around Roseau, but all around the country. Okay. And business, now as we're in the Creole season, Carnival season, and when Carnival season, I think that the businesses around Roseau should remain open at like up to 6 to 5 p.m. because, I mean, there are people that come in to buy their stuff and then they have to be there hustling. You go in a business place and then you have to be hustling. So I think that we should, during this time, the Creole season and the Carnival season, we should keep it open to 6 or 5 p.m. And another point is the trucks that are carrying the sands and stones and other hazardous materials should be covered at all times. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Anne from the lovely village of Maho. I reside in St. Thomas. I would like to say to you, Mr. Prime Minister and your cabinet, you all are doing a damn good job. And secondly, I would say that what I tried to say for the voting, if I could build my house or buy a home in Dominica, send barrels, I could send Western Union, I believe I have the right to vote. I would like to say about the airport, Mr. Prime Minister. We need to work on that. And I would like to say thank you to Air Sunshine and who help us all. These airlines are cargo airlines, Mr. Prime Minister. And as you could see, I am not a cargo. Okay? We need to fly from St. Thomas to Dominica. It's about an hour and 20 minutes. And it takes me around the globe to come here. I like to always say I miss a Hummingbird. That was my airline. We need to work on the airport because as I live in St. Thomas, but what about the people them who live in New York, all the other states that have to pass wrong to come to Dominica? We need to work on the airport, Mr. Prime Minister. I love you dearly to my heart, but we need to do something about the airport. Thank you.
Good morning, Prime Minister, to you and your cabinet. Good morning, Sam. Love you. Big fan. Sam, thank you for building back again. And can you tell me how much employees you're going to have full-time when you open? You don't have to answer me now. The Lennox is listening, so he'll know. You don't have to answer now. He's listening. We know he's listening. My question is for Mr. Isaac or the Prime Minister. We have so many, after Maria, so many old houses in town. Not only old houses, but lots. 20, 25 years sitting there. Just any way you could try to get some of the owners. Maybe give them a year, 6 months. Some of them, we know families fighting, they can't sell. But can we pay them after the 6 months or a year, the market value? Let's say the lot in town empty for 20 years, $1 million. We'd sell it, put that $1 million in the escrow in the bank, and let the family fight over the $1 million. People like Sam could put condos in town. We have too many empty lots with no owners around town. That's all I got to say. Have a blessed day.
Hello. Hi, my name's Ruth. I'm from the UK.
Hello.
I'm a passionate Dominican. I love Dominica so much, and I come as often as I can. I'd like to, there's two issues that I'd like to raise. One is that my father bought a piece of land in Shell many, many years ago. He died quite early. The land has been left barren for about 20 years, because as children we weren't able to do anything with it. Hurricane Maria has come and totally obliterated the land because there's a ravine at the back of it. So it's in a complete state. And to me, it seems unworkable to build on the land and also unattractive to sell. Obviously, the land has been paid for. I just wanted to find out what recourse there might be for a situation like that. Yeah? The second point I wanted to make is that I'm very concerned. I'm a health and fitness professional. I'm very concerned about the health and wellness of local Dominicans, generally, from what I see. I'm really passionate about working and providing support around increasing, building wellness, not only mental wellness, but physical, psychological wellness. And I would really appreciate the support of Miss Rosalind Paul, I hope that's the name, in terms of developing a project around Dominica, supporting people with their physical health and wellness. In my opinion, we need a well nation to build a strong nation. Yeah, and health is our wealth. So if we don't have health, that impacts on how we function and what we can do for the country. That's what I'd like to say. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Frances Bastian. I'm from London, England. First of all, I would like to say congratulations on an absolutely brilliant Creole Festival. I thought it was right up there on any other international performance you'd get anywhere in the world, basically. I came back here earlier in March because I brought my mother back after the hurricane. And even then, we came back open-minded. We wasn't sure what we was going to see. But obviously, even in them 6 months, we were impressed, especially with regards to be able to drive around Dominica compared to what we had seen on the internet post-Maria. So this is my second time back here at Dominica this year. With regards to, I think one of the questions that I have is in relation to tradesmen in Dominica. Now, my parents, obviously they're returnees, they lost part of their roof, and it was an absolute nightmare to get tradesmen. In actual fact, what we got somebody over who was Dominican but lived in St. Thomas. Now, for me and my family coming back to help our parents, sometimes we're saying, okay, this piece of work needs to be done, but unless we can find a good tradesman in the period of time that we're here, we never ever finish anything. So I think with regards to a government, is there any way there could be like an approved list of skilled tradesmen where people coming back on holiday or returnees that live here could actually go somewhere and say, okay, this man or this woman or whoever the tradesman is an accredited tradesman at a good price. My dad's saying to me that in order to have doors hung, someone charged him $200 a door. Well, hang on a minute. It's not by doors. It should be if you employ somebody for a day's work, if they put up 4 doors, they put up 4 doors. But to be charged at $200 for 1 door, yeah? No, come on. Nobody, nowhere in the world, I believe, does something like that, yeah? So it is about, you know, again, people, you know, we're bringing our money in.
All right, can we have some order, please?
Yeah? We are sending money for our parents because, as some people said, as returnees, they weren't offered help. So it's us, as their children, who have helped them. And we want to continue helping them. And we want to continue to give to Dominica. But in the process, we are not going to be ripped off. Yeah? So I'd just like to say that. Thank you.
Okay. Next.
The last person who spoke, we in the government, we share your concerns too. Yeah? You know, these days, because of the volume of work, tradesmen are emperors in this country. And we've seen an increase in many instances of the cost of construction. And then, because you have so many demands, you have contractors with several contracts, and they're unable to service all of them at the same time. I mean, this is why we have gone ahead and brought in teams from Venezuela, from Barbados, from Jamaica, from Cuba, to help with the tradesmen issue in Dominica in order to address a number of the critical interventions. So it's something we continue to work on, but we share your sentiments in the government. I mean, we speak about this particular challenge every day. With regards to a replacement for us, we are in fact speaking to about 4 different entities. We have another entity coming in sometime this month, November, to visit with us and to engage us and to look at the possibility of setting up a medical school here. Out of this 4, there's one that we can literally sign right away with, but we want to ensure that we give all of those who have an interest an opportunity to come into Dominica, to look at the campus, and to engage us and to see which is the best one that we want to pursue with. Luckily for us, we have a slight advantage where this is concerned in that the campus belongs to the state. And all the buildings thereon belong to the state. That was in 1993, as you recall, Deputy General Charles fell out with Rush University over some taxes owed by Rush. It was in the amount of about 1.7 million US dollars. And as a settlement, Rush University agreed to give to the government the 27.2 acres of land. And subsequent to that, in 1994, a lease agreement was entered into between Rush University and the government of Dominica, leasing the 27.2 or so acres to Rush. And in that lease, it states very clearly, and even our laws, our existing laws, make this very clear also, that if you leasing property to somebody and anything to the property owner, so we really want Rush to hand over this business to us sooner rather than later. The Attorney General is in discussion with them, and the sooner they can get out is better for us, because they're out already. And if they do not want to move, when they want them to move, we'll take them to court. As simple as that. With regards to nursing, it is a vicious cycle in the world, where you have Canadian and American and British nurses are recruited by richer countries in the Middle East. So Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Singapore and others can pay you much bigger salaries than you get in the UK and the United States. And as a result, they now, because the US and the British have a nursing shortage, they now have to recruit from our region and from the Philippines and elsewhere. So every single country in the Caribbean is suffering from the migration of nurses. From Jamaica all the way in the north to Suriname all the way in the south, affected. And there's no way small economies like ours can compete with Her Majesty's Treasury or the Treasury of the United States of America. So off the bat, we are at a disadvantage. And you also have situations in Africa, where South Africa recruits nurses from other African countries, because the South African nurses have been recruited by the UAE and United Kingdom. So it's a global challenge, which CARICOM has raised with the international community. We have raised this at the Commonwealth heads of government meetings. We've raised this at the WHO. We've raised this at PAHO, because it is affecting countries like ours in a dramatic way, where we spend so much money to train these nurses, and then another country recruits them. Now, we understand, and therefore we, as a democratic country, we cannot impose restrictions on someone's mobility. Everybody is free to move freely. So, and it is not the first time this country has been faced with this. But what we continue to do is to continue to train nurses. So we'll be going to go back on a expansive nursing training program to ensure that we have adequate numbers. And some years ago, I believe in 2007 or thereabout, we started with training about 100 nurses at one time and filling the gaps. The other thing too is that, as you know, my dear friend, cousin, you know, when a registered nurse go and she gets a degree and she gets a master's degree and so on, the bedside care is no longer there. People want, you see, so we've been faced with that challenge, where the government's education revolution sometimes bites it a little bit, because the more people move up academically, is the less they want to do what they were doing originally. So you're faced with that challenge. But we continue to work with the nurses, and I can tell you, those who are here and even those who have left are exceptional in their duties. You know, a lot of the nurses work very, very hard there. You know, I was just there on Saturday, and I mean, these nurses work hard, and we are very appreciative of their service, but we are not holding it against them if someone decides to go to the United Kingdom or the United States to work. We understand the realities of life, and that's the reality of life. But we're hoping that a greater nationalist spirit can overwhelm them and not succumb to the temptation of the Yankee dollar or the British pound. You know, so it's a global challenge that we have been seeking to address. I think these are the three questions that my other colleague will address.
Yeah, thank you for the question in regards to acquisition of properties that's underutilized or properties which are posing an environmental risk. First of all, I would like to say that this administration treats with sensitivity the issue of compulsory acquisition. We would only do it under extreme situation of necessity. In regards to Roseau, if we are to ensure that Roseau becomes a climate resilient, smart city, we are almost bound to moving in that direction. So far, the government has already done that, moving full speed ahead in the area of Pong, as I mentioned earlier, and the government has also done that in some areas in Boys Avenue. We will be moving also in the riverbank area. And there's an area called Formico, that's a Lower Virgin Lane, below the Catholic Church. We are moving to acquire these lands there in order to ensure that we can reposition Dominica's housing real estate in Roseau Central. So we'll be doing that. What we're going to do also is, so far what we have done is use more a technical approach, where we have the Ministry of Housing and London Survey deal with the matter. But we will take a socio-political approach, which will involve Prime Minister, Minister of Housing, who is the same Prime Minister, and the Pal Rep, involved in a more socio-political approach, where we'll have more formal discussions with residents after the independence. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for all the great questions. My name is Robert Tong, Minister for Tourism, responsible for culture also. With regards to the question on air access, this is always a challenge. But I want to say to you that the government of Dominica is working feverishly on this. Clearly, you can see this is the largest crowd we've ever had in a very long time. It clearly indicates a significant number of people have come to Dominica. As you can well imagine, Liat only has so many planes. One of the things that we had to do, all of the flights that normally came in on the 48-seater the week before Creole Festival, we had to change them to the 72-seater. And even that, too, was still insufficient to allow all the persons who would have loved to have come to Dominica. We also have 2 ferries that are coming to Dominica also. That's another option persons can use to come to Dominica. And we continue to work on making the access better and easier. Many of you would also note that effective November 1st, which is today, Air Antilles will be servicing Guadeloupe, and you're going to have the Norwegian flights coming from New York every day on Thursday and on Sunday, which allows you to come into Dominica the same day. So we are working our best to improve on access. Effective December, we're also working with Seaborne Airlines, which will also come in later and overnight in Dominica again to improve same-day connectivity into Dominica. So we are feverishly working on that. With regards to the service that many of you receive in the other islands, we will be speaking to the respective airports to work and ensure that you receive better service. And as we build our international airport, these things will be a thing of the past. Thank you very much.
In the interest of time, we are going to attempt to take the questions from the persons who are standing now. And I'm afraid we'll have to close the question time after this. So we'll take all of the questions. That's 6 or 8. Please, no new ones. And let's try to get the program going. So you... Yeah? Come on, the lady on my right. Let's proceed.
My name is Marissa McGrath, and I experienced Hurricane Maria, and so that was very unfortunate because but fortunately, I did not die. So after Hurricane Maria, I recollected myself and for how could I help, and I organized relief for where we were living. And we were right, I actually have an apartment in the tall rice building by Buffett State River, and I mean, that had a pounding. Then the other thing is, the other thing I done as well, and the relief, yes, we got relief, which was very helpful. And the other thing I did, I was supposed to travel back in February, but I went back in December. But before I went back in December, we also had lights, which I actually worked very hard to organize as well. And they were very appreciative for that. Also, my apartment became a soup kitchen. Everything was from that kitchen. Even when when I actually hand out the relief, some persons come back and want me and ask me, also, can I prepare this for them, because they had no facilities to do that. So, which I did as well. The other thing is, one more observation. An observation is somebody's already touched on it, is customer service. We should not lose our vision because we have experienced and traumatized by what has happened. It seems like there is a permanent vexedness all the time. Wherever you go, everybody's so angry, and it doesn't seem to want to give the time to give a good service. That goes a long way. A good service encourages us to want to come back to you. And I've noticed few places I got good service. Flow, they've got good service and customer service, and I think they should take a lift from that. But good customer service helps you as well. That's what I need.
On the left, I notice people are still joining the queue. Please, we need your cooperation. We need your cooperation. We have to end at some point. The gentleman on my left.
Good afternoon, everyone. I live in Guadeloupe, and I come into Dominica often, but this is the 5 years I never been to Dominica, and I saw a great change, because when we was living in Guadeloupe, we saw the Prime Minister moving powerful to try to help everybody at the same time. So now I came back, I just came to say thank you and continue the great job. And we live in Guadeloupe, we support you a lot, so we are proud of you, Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is James Augustus Etienne. I live in Boston, and today I am happy to be back in Dominica. I'm saying to all the visitors, are you happy to be in Dominica? Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, for declaring 2018 as Reunion Day, that all who is there today will have a chance to come back and give them the mic. And we thank you very much. Between 1 year, the improvement that have been done in Dominica, I am satisfied with it. Number one, whenever we land in the airport, we get a taxi and drive us straight home. We never feel no bump. The road was improved. And we are satisfied with how you are improving in Dominica. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lady on my left.
Good afternoon. I would like to extend thanks to the Cabinet. It's a pleasure sitting in front President's carrot. I was born here in Dominica. I left a long time ago, but I come every chance I've got. Roseau, where I was born, everybody, are you from Dominica? Yes, I'm from River Street. I have one critical that I would like to extend. The traffic in town. What can be done about it is we have major cities, which is south, west, north, and east. Everyone should not have to travel to town to get a driver's license. Everyone should not have to travel to town to get government papers done. I think to ease the congestion, we should have offices in north, south, east, and west of the country that we can go and get paperwork done, not coming to town all the way from Amsterdam to get a driver's license done. For instance, we have Ross that moved out of Portsmouth. Why are the apartments sitting empty? Open offices, you create jobs, cut off the traffic traveling. the time that one person would come to town for an hour, they go to work for 10 minutes. It's right there. Create jobs within the districts that everybody do not have to travel to town to get just one piece of paper done. Thank you.
Next.
Yes. My name is Hannah Rose Lamberts. I live in New Jersey. I'm originally from Wesley, beautiful village of Wesley. I have a question, and maybe that might go to the Prime Minister. I know you are working on getting the international airports, because I came from New Jersey and it took me 2 days to get to Dominica. So I hope you have identified a spot, or I hope you're already looking for a spot to have the international airports, all right? But I enjoyed Creole Fest, and the stadium was awesome. All right, thank you.
Prime Minister, honorable ministers, nationals and friends of Dominica, nationals and friends of Dominica, a very good afternoon to you all. I think it is, yes it is. My name is Clinton Watson Canoville. I reside in the United Kingdom, London, but I was born here in Dominica. By trade or by profession, I am an electrical installation technician and also an electrical engineer. I very often work as a consultant also in that field. I was here 9 days before Hurricane Maria last year, and coincidentally, I left here 9 days after Hurricane Maria. While still in England for the next 6 months, I decided to return to Dominica after noticing the devastation caused by Hurricane Maria. I came back here in April this year, and I decided to help my government to build my country as it was before. I am still here. I'm available to offer my government and people the services that I can render in my profession. I just want to congratulate the Prime Minister, Dr. Roosevelt Skerrit, and his government in their effort to bring back Dominica as it was before. You are on the road of doing so. I have been here, as I said, 7 months. And I've decided to stay here because of the changes, the work that you're doing. And I'm going to witness that. Prime Minister, you mentioned about the international airport. I'm available. Whenever your government ready, in the designing, electrical designing of that project, I am here to assist. I've congratulated you and asked you to continue your good work. But one simple question I have, and this is directed to the Minister for Health. The question I would like to ask, when there's an accident or someone is very ill in Dominica, we have to be depending on Guadeloupe or Martinique to send an air ambulance to Dominica. My question to you, Mr. Minister and Mr. Prime Minister, what plan or plans have you put in place to address that situation? Because we would like to, I'm here to love my country, to build my country. Let us see changes. I know you are capable of doing that. I thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to... Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to congratulate the Prime Minister and his cabinet for doing a job well done. Just 2 questions. I have a sister who has a house on the highway in Jubla, and she really needs assistance. She said she put in all the paperwork and never get assistance. The house is leaning on the side. And my own in Chackwal, is there anything put in place to relocate us or something? Because you know the river is a disaster. That's all. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Hernika Dorival-Coriet. I reside in Shelton, Connecticut. My uncle, who resides in Virgin Lane, our house, which is the home I was born in, was completely demolished by Hurricane Maria. He was approached by someone after the hurricane. I came down in June to see how I could assist him. I provided information to the powers that be at the time. I'm waiting on information. Nothing has been told to any one of us. My question is, I know at this point in time you all are dealing with the most vulnerable and single family, but there are working people who are desperately in need of assistance. And my question is, what is the time frame that I should look for to get information as how he would be getting assistance to rebuild our home? That's the question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, fellow Dominicans, brothers and sisters. I'm coming from Tutola, reside in Tutola. I want to congratulate the government, and especially Mr. Skerrit, because he's the leader of the boat. We cannot congratulate the government and not recognize the leader. And I'm from Portsmouth. I want to big up Ian Douglas. He's doing a fabulous job. Reginald Austri, keep up the good work, my brother. And I want to make it short. I have some concerns. I notice we have a lot of good roads, fast vehicles. We have to enforce our seatbelt laws. We need safety. We need safety. Right? And I see, they say the government is not doing anything, but I could see our people rising on a different level. Sometimes I say to myself, when I look at Totola and look at here, I say, they say Dominican doing so bad, but where they getting all this money to buy all these nice vehicles? All these big jeeps, all these fancy vehicles. Homes, I see new buildings. Another issue, there's a lot of abandoned vehicles. I live in Kingsville. And there's a lot of abandoned vehicles which people just strip and leave it by the roadside for years. Environment. And I have one more issue, which maybe some people might like. But in the future, we're going to see we need that. All these vehicles, private vehicles especially, with this dark tilt. In total, I cannot do that. An officer is supposed to see a driver supposed to see in the vehicle. Because I noticed that we have a lot of guns on the street now. So crime, our country is developing, so everything can develop. So we have to look at these issues. Seatbelt, safety, abandoned vehicles, and tilt, the dark tilt, private vehicles. I want to see who in these vehicles. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Olo Bonio. I am from Scots Head. I lived in the United Kingdom for 40 years. I have been residing home for 8 years. Let me compliment the Prime Minister and his cabinet for the visionary idea about turning Dominica into a climate-resilient country. Thank you. But as you well know, Prime Minister, and the rest of your cabinet, the vision is a vision. The reality is to make it work. And I want to remind the people who are going to write the plans that part of that resilience is something we have lost. So we're, to some extent, going back to the past. We all knew and Ambassador Gregor is a friend of mine from the same village. And things like windbreaks and hedging and stonewalling, all of these things were things we used to do in the past. Making plans for hurricanes were things we used to do in the 50s and 60s. So to some extent, we have to realize that what we're doing we're going back to the past. And therefore, while we're writing those wonderful pieces, we must consult the older people. They have wisdom. And what the professors in universities are going to be telling us, that's what many young, older Dominicans will be telling us right there in Dominica. So please remember that. The second point, which is the most important point, and that's what I call human resource resilience. As all of you know, that's the most important thing. We can make nothing happen unless human beings make it happen. And therefore, special attention must be paid to what I call human resource resilience. And we all know we have a number of challenges in Dominica. They've been laid out here by a number of people. They were very diplomatic and very careful in the ways they said it. And I think the counselor, ex-counselor from the UK put it across very well. We do have to pay particular attention to the way we treat people. Customer service. Again, it's going back to the past, because at school we used to have Fridays where you do courtesy week and courtesy day, and you say good morning and you treat people well, and we used to go up and have to sweep our school buildings and all of that. So I'm saying that particular attention must be paid to human resource resilience, but in writing those things, we must remember that we are going back to the past, by and large. So leaving that aside, I've got to also mention something, is that in the 80s, I was involved in an association called the Dominica Development Association. And we carried out an exercise whereby we knew that there were a number of Dominicans who had worked in the UK, returned to Dominica, and were entitled to a pension in England. And we carried out an exercise where we must have helped at least 20 or 30 people in the Scots-Soufriere area. I suspect that there's still Dominicans residing here in Dominica who have worked 7 continuous years in the UK and would be entitled to a percentage of a pension in the United Kingdom. That needs to be looked at either at a private level or by an NGO or by the government. But I'm saying through this meeting that that must be looked at, because that's money for the individual and money for Dominica. And we mustn't let that go. So that's one thing that needs to be looked at. And the last thing is a question by my friend. He said to ask it. He says he often goes to the UK and he spends for medical treatment, and that of course helps Dominica because he doesn't have to be going to the hospital down there. And a number of Dominicans do that, they return to the UK for medical treatment. And he says that the waiving of fees, license fees, is only done after 6 months. And he asks that, could that be looked at, and could the waiving be reduced to perhaps 2 or 3 months? Because what it does is that people are just cheating. So rather than, and what we do not want to do is to turn good citizens into cheats. So perhaps you'd be good enough to look at it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the questions. Just 2 brief announcements. We have Reunion magazines, and you could sign up with the Discover Dominica at the back to receive copies of the Reunion magazine. Secondly, in an effort to increase communication and based on the comments made by the Prime Minister, we need to announce that government has launched a special diaspora website at www.diaspora.gov.dm to pay special attention and enhance communication with the diaspora. There you can register your concerns and also register the contributions that you intend to make, skill sets, and all the other matters discussed here today. So it's www.diaspora.gov.dm. Okay. At this point, I'll call on Minister Catherine Daniel to address and round up the discussions. All right.
A pleasant good afternoon to everyone. It's not an address. I'm so overwhelmed, or we are so overwhelmed to see so many people here. It indicates your interest in your country, and that is what we are seeking from you. We want to thank you very, very much for being present here today, because by your mere presence and the contributions that you made shows that you have Dominica in your hearts. And for this, we thank you very, very much. Some of your contributions we can take on board immediately. Some in the long term, we already have in our plans. And so we appreciate the advice that you have given. And I think one of the key things that resonated was the customer service, of which we are working on. And we appreciate your candidness, your truthfulness, and as we say, all minds must work together, and we can condemn and come to a common good for the good of all Dominicans. As we close, we have this opening in Salisbury. Those of you who go down that way, you can stop by to see what's happening there. If you think we are just saying things, you can see the results of our input into the country to make it better. So thank you very much. We have refreshments here for you. We hope you enjoy the rest of your stay in Dominica, because we still have the rest of the celebrations. Come out on the 3rd of November to take pride in your country and to demonstrate your pride. Hold your flags, dress in your warp, do it, and have a wonderful time. Thank you very much, my people.
So, excuse me, sorry. As we do the final phases of our interactions, we will have a short cultural presentation presented by Mrs. Pinard from the Cultural Division as we interact with the ministers and each other. Refreshments are served at the back, and the exhibits are also downstairs. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this event. We now welcome the Goodwill Secondary School as they present for us the ballet dance. Let's put our hands together for them.
One, two, 1, 2. Ah. 1, 2, 1, 2. One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Hello. Hey. I went to market to buy some pepper. I went to market to buy some pepper. Auntie Anna, me and you. Auntie Anna, me and you. The roll and shake. And a roll and shake. And a ring ting and a ring ting ting. Boom. I went to market to buy some pepper. Auntie Anna, me and
Yeah.
Auntie Anna, me and you. The roll and shake. And a roll and shake. And a ring ting and a ring ting ting. Boom. I went to market to buy some pepper. Auntie Anna, me and you. Auntie Anna, me and you. The roll and shake. And the roll and shake. And a ring ting and a ring ting ting. Boom. And a ring ting and a ring ting ting. Boom. I went to market to buy some pepper. Auntie Anna, me and you. Auntie Anna, me and you. The roll and shake. And a roll and shake. And a ring ting and a ring ting ting. Boom. And a ring ting and a ring ting ting. Boom. Auntie Anna, me and you. The roll and shake. And a roll and shake. And a ring ting and a ring ting ting. Boom. And a ring ting and a ring ting ting. Whoa.
Why oh, why oh, why oh, why oh, no vini esi pura se belle. Treasure cara se belle, Delton cara se belle, GSS cara se belle, no vini esi pura se belle. Cyan cara se belle, Isha cara se belle, Delton cara se belle, no vini esi pura se belle. GSS cara se belle, Graham cara se belle, Cyan cara se belle, no vini esi pura se belle. Treasure cara se belle, Delton cara se belle, GSS cara se belle, no vini esi pura se belle. Rhonda cara se belle, Icha cara se belle, Delton cara se belle, no vini esi pura se belle. Michael cara se belle, Treasure cara se belle, Oh Marie cara se belle, no vini esi pura se belle. Colleen cara se belle, Rhonda cara se belle, Treasure cara se belle, no vini esi pura se belle. Treasure cara se belle, Delton cara se belle, Siobhan cara se belle, no vini esi pura se belle. GSS cara se belle, Graham cara se belle, Isha cara se belle, no vini esi pura se belle. Treasure cara se belle, Delton cara se belle, Oh Marie cara se belle, no vini esi pura se belle. Treasure cara se belle, Delton cara se belle, GSS cara se belle, no vini esi pura se belle. La Lincoln